Good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? What is going on? Monday, July 7th, 8 a.m. on the dot. We are here. We are ready to go. Hopefully, everybody had a fantastic, really, really nice 3-day weekend. Got to be honest. I enjoyed my weekend. Enjoyed that Friday, that extra day off, and I'm ready to go. We got a lot to get into today. Looking forward to talking some hoops with everybody. Obviously, we got a lot of Lakers stories. Good stories, too. There are a couple different times. Now, I ended up cracking yesterday and just decided that, all right, I'm just going to put up a video. But there were a couple different times this weekend. I'm like, all right, do I just put up a video? No, let's wait. No, let's wait till Monday. I couldn't wait yesterday. I had to put up a video. Okay, we got a lot to get into. You guys feel free to throw any comments that you guys want out there. I'll do my best to try to get to these comments. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. What are we at? I think 32-2, 32-3, something like that. So these certainly through free agency got a couple new couple hundred new subscribers to come join the show. So thank you very much for doing that. Greatly appreciate that. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Let me give everyone just a quick rundown what we're going to do for the show today, and then we'll get started. No guests today, so you guys got to listen to my ass for a long time, for at least an hour. We know that. It's going to be at least an hour. How much longer than an hour? We'll have to wait and see. Cheers to everybody, by the way, whatever you're drinking this morning. You're enjoying some coffee, some tea, some water, whatever it is. Cheers to you. And thank you for carving out part of your morning to hang out with me. Here's what we got going on today. Lakers offseason. Just kind of recap a little bit, because since the last time I did a show on Thursday, some things have gone down. Not anything crazy, not the biggest news in the world, but definitely some news out there. So with that in mind, we're going to spend a little bit of time of what the Lakers have already done, and then what can we expect moving forward. Kind of leads me to another topic as well. Will the Lakers make a trade? I thought, if you'd have told me by the time we got to July 7th, are the Lakers going to make a move? Are they going to go out there and actually make a trade? I'm not talking about signing a player. I'm not talking about re-signing a guy, somebody picking up his extension. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a real legitimate trade. Will the Lakers have made a trade by this point? And I would have thought definitely they have. There's good news and bad news to them not having made a move so far. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. Bradley Beal chatter. This is going to go down pretty quick, I think. And frankly, I got no idea if that move that the Clippers just made this morning and trading Norman Powell opens up a bigger opportunity for Beal with the Clippers. But there's a short list of teams, at least, that we've heard in the last maybe 24 hours or so, that when he is bought out by the Phoenix Suns, he's going to obviously have a ton of teams that would love his services. Why? Because you don't got to pay anything. And Bradley Beal's still just 32 years old. So a little bit of time on Bradley Beal. Jackson Hayes is your backup center. Tell me what you think about that. Maxi Kleber. I think in this whole chatter of who the Lakers are going to get for a big, who they're going to get for a big, you almost kind of forget Maxi Kleber in this whole mix. There were a couple of quotes of why the Lakers think that they'll be able to use him this upcoming season. Dalton Knecht, people already tripping out about him because he has not got off to a good. They did a California Classic, so they already played 2 games, and he wasn't great in it. And I actually feel bad for this guy. I think he might just need a different location in order to kind of get his NBA career where he wants it to be. And then the last thing I'll do, just a quick weekend recap, maybe BS a little bit about what we all did for the 4th of July, and we'll go from there. All right. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. 4th of July weekend. It's nice. It's nice. Very, very quiet in my world for the 4th of July weekend, but it was definitely nice. All right, let's get the show started. See if we got a couple comments here that we can get the show started with. Beal Lakers. Get Bradley Beal. Let me see this one. Get Bradley Beal. Pelinka is so bad. Why is he still the GM? Good quote here. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. Ooh, very nice quote right there. I like Maxi as a stretch. Big gives us more options. Slee. Connect stinks. Okay. So we got a little bit of everything from everybody. Everybody's giving their opinion on here. Beal, another defensive liability. I saw that. Yeah, I put out a video yesterday on Beal, by the way. thing kind of blew up on YouTube, not going to lie. But a lot of different comments. I'll read some of those comments. People that were excited about it, people that have some concerns. We'll get into all that. Okay, so Lakers offseason so far. Let me just kind of, what do we make of the offseason so far? Because I could see people on here that are basically saying Pelinka's the worst. What is this guy doing? Then I could see other people saying, okay, you know what? Pelinka's actually, he hasn't given up the farm, and you still got a lot of assets, and you added a center, right? Like, if you want to look at it from that perspective, you can kind of make a case for both. Here's what I like so far about where the Lakers are. And I kept mentioning this last week. I'm like, listen, if we get to Saturday or Sunday and they still don't have a center, then there's obviously concerns. But we're still relatively very early in the free agency and moves that can happen. But let's just kind of assess where the Lakers are sitting here right now. What do we make of the offseason so far? Here's what I like, and I'll tell you exactly what I'm referring to. You got a center, and you didn't have to make a trade to get him. I'm not going to sit here and try to make a case for everybody because, honestly, I think it would be dumb to do so and sit here and tell you that DeAndre Ayton is the answer. DeAndre Ayton is the present. He's the future. He's, the most important player the Lakers have signed in years. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. It would be idiotic for me to do that. But what I will tell you about the Lakers getting Ayton, they got a center. And they got a center that has a ton of upside. It's going to be on his back and his shoulders to figure it out. They got a player that can put up real stats and put up real numbers. He's only 26 years old, so this isn't a wash player or anything like that. They got a center. And again, they did not have to go trade. If you go look back when they were trying to trade Mark Williams at the trade deadline, trying to trade for Mark Williams, remember what they were giving up? They were giving up, whether you think it's a lot of assets or not, the Lakers don't have many assets. So the moment they were giving up Dalton Knecht and a first rounder, and the moment they're putting those chips on the table, that's all they got. I mean, there really isn't too many pieces that the Lakers have to play with. So at least for them, if they're opening up the cupboard and they're saying, okay, well, what do we have to trade? That's a significant piece of what the Lakers have as far as some of the assets that they have. Well, they got a center who's 26 years old, who's got some good playoff experience, who's definitely got some upside, who's a walking double-double, and they didn't have to give up anything for him. And they just signed him for a 2-year deal worth about $16 million, somewhere in that range of $16 million. That's obviously a great positive for the Lakers because it gives them still a number of options. One thing I've noticed as well, and I don't know if this is strategic or not, this is always funny when this happens. It's Lakers really have not made any moves, right? They signed Dalton Knecht, they signed DeAndre Ayton, Jake LaRavia they got as well. They haven't gone out there and made any trades. And then in your mind, you start telling yourself, you're like, they seem patient. They're very responsible. You know what? This must be new ownership. By the way, I have no idea if any of those connect. But in my mind, I'm like, look, they didn't make a deal, and they must be sitting in a boardroom. And all these guys must be wildly patient. And you know what? New ownership is already putting their fingerprints in and say, no. Move up 20 spots to go make a draft pick. No. Don't trade any of your assets yet. Hold on to them. I don't know if that's the case or it's just ironic and the Lakers just haven't found a move that made sense or the asking price is just too high. I don't know. But if I had to list some of the things that I think are positive so far, they still got all their assets. What I don't like about it so far, if I had to look at the Lakers offseason, which is it's a double-edged sword. I could sit here and say, well, they haven't made a trade yet, and they still have all their assets. But part of the negative, to be honest with you, is they haven't made a trade yet. How much did we hear walking into the offseason? I've mentioned this before, and you guys are going to hear me mention it a ton. How many different times have I talked about that exit meeting with Rob Pelinka and JJ Redick down in El Segundo? And Pelinka made it sound like, hey, when this summer starts, we're firing every bullet. Now, things have changed. How much of the strategy has changed, how much of just the offers haven't been there. It's not like there were early trades early in the right before the free agency started. The free agency period started. Desmond Bane, obviously Kevin Durant. But but it's kind of quieted down a little bit until this morning. Norman Powell and John Collins get traded. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. But I think with all that in mind, it is a little bit of a double-edged sword. I feel like I was oversold or I was overpromised and under-delivered, if that's the right way to put it. I think so, right? It feels like I thought walking in, it's like for sure Lakers are going to start making moves. They haven't made it. Now, it almost reminds me of when free agency started. You don't have to be the first one that makes a move. And that's not going to determine, just because you were the first one to make a move or the first one to sign a free agent, that's not going to dictate whether you had a good offseason or not. Frankly, I'm not even 100% sure what the Lakers' goals are this offseason. Yes, it was to get a center, but maybe the goals have changed since new ownership. Maybe the goals have changed when it felt like they sent a message to LeBron like, hey, pump the brakes, brother. We're not using all our assets to chase something that we don't even think is realistic this year. We got to go plan for a future that has Luka Doncic, and we're not just going to keep giving up assets just so you're happy. You're 40. You're going to be 41 years old. You're still a great player, an unbelievable athlete, and everything else that comes with it. You're still box office and selling a lot of tickets, but the end is coming here. So I think overall, as I sit here and I look at the Lakers, I'm not disappointed in their offseason. I'm really not. I think getting Ayton and not having to give up assets was huge. And I still think it's really, really early for them to determine what to do next. I saw this, and I think this is something just to keep in mind. Bobby Marks put this out. Bobby Marks joined the show last week, was very nice with his time. I'm going to share this screen with you guys so you guys can see it as well. Basically, every time a team makes a move, Bobby Marks starts rolling up his sleeves and giving a full breakdown of the position that every team is in. Take a look here. We could kind of look at it together. So here's Bobby Marks. He put this thing together. So updated Lakers offseason. Ayton, Jake LaRavia split the non-tax mid-level. Jackson Hayes signed with non-bird rights, 120% of the 6-year minimum, 3.45. Got a little bit of a raise, I guess you can call it. 13 guaranteed contracts, 2 partial non-guarantees. The $3 million Shake Million contract is they basically have to guarantee it by July 20th. So they got a little space, a little bit of time here. If they went out, hypothetically, got Bradley Beal or something like that, they would take him off the books. So this kind of gives a little bit. Here's the Lakers starting 5. Luka, Reeves, LeBron, Rui, DeAndre Ayton. The reserves, Gabe, Goodwin, Bronny, Dalton Knecht, Shake Milton, Kleber, Thero, Jake LaRavia, Jared Vanderbilt, and Jackson Hayes. That's what the Lakers have right now. They're just under that first apron, 195.9. Lakers projected salary at 195. So this kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of where the Lakers are sitting, and that's where they're sitting as we walk into the rest of free agency. Okay, let's take a look at some of your comments, and then I want to spend some time talking about what the Lakers still need. We'll talk a little bit about backup center. We'll talk about Bradley Beal. We'll start getting into some of those other topics. All right, let me find this. There we go here. Let's see what everybody's got to say. Get everybody's opinion. Wow, that's a horrible bench. Yeah, not a good bench. Not a good bench. No defense or depth, or no depth or defense. True as well. By the way, here's the reality in today's NBA as well. You gotta have depth. Gotta have depth. You also gotta have youth. And the Lakers are in this kind of weird in-between space where they're trying to get younger. Jake LaRavia, don't go out and sign. They don't pick up Dorian Finney-Smith, and they don't give him a 4-year deal. They're in the process of trying to get younger. At the same time, they bring in DeAndre Ayton, who's only 26 years old, but at the same time, they could very easily be signing a player in Bradley Beal, and it's like, all right, well, they got a little bit older again. But that one I think is different. I'm not overly concerned with that one. Get real, seal the Beal deal, go buy a Happy Meal, Lakers in. Okay. I don't think anyone could say Lakers in 5 anymore. I don't think you could actually do that. I don't. When you lose in 5, I'm not sure you're able to actually still say Lakers in 5 with your chest out. I think people should pump the brakes on that one for at least a year. Give that thing about a year to marinate. Would be hilarious if Luka leaves. I don't think Luka's going anywhere. That's my personal opinion, but I could also, see a world where he's looking at the roster and saying, what can I actually do here? It's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. It will also require Rob to use assets. This has nothing to do with Bron. It has everything to do with proper team building. Yeah, I would say this, Brandon. One of the problems with the Lakers has been they've spent so much of their time chasing their own tail on that hamster wheel, just kind of spinning. Doesn't it feel like for the first time they got off the wheel and are like, we've been running this entire time and we're still in the exact same spot. Maybe we should stop running for a quick second and take a second to kind of think about what the short term and what the long term looks like. Okay, let me keep things moving here. What the Lakers still need. So they need a wing. I would say a potential backup center, but technically they got that in Jackson Hayes. I don't know how crazy people are about that, Jackson Hayes being the backup center. I'm okay with it. I think if you told me it was Al Horford and maybe Jackson Hayes was the third string or something like that, or they were creative enough to find another player, I'd probably feel more comfortable with that. But Jackson Hayes is a backup center. What's he going to play you? 10 to 15 minutes a game. You're not going to ask him to do, too much. The problem is Ayton doesn't exactly play 75 games a year, so you're definitely going to have times where Jackson Hayes is going to need to start. The one thing that I did think was interesting, when they signed Ayton, there were some quotes out there, and I saw something from Dan Weike put something out. No, when they signed Jackson Hayes, I saw Dan Weike put something out specifically about Maxi Kleber. Here's what he said. The Lakers, as is, also believe in Maxi Kleber's value as a stretch big. He's recovering well from foot surgery last January and could give them another dimension in their center rotation. You guys remember in Game 5, Lakers were about to get eliminated by Minnesota, and they decided to bring in Maxi Kleber before Jackson Hayes. And that just kind of shows you how desperate the Lakers were. It's funny. There's been a lot of times where I've almost forgot about Kleber, and I've only forgot about him just because of the predicament, the situation, just the fact that we've been talking about other big men, the fact that the only time Maxi Kleber's name has come up is when you say, what assets do you have to potentially trade? And what you typically say is you have 3 expiring contracts. Rui gets mentioned, Gabe gets mentioned, Maxi Kleber gets mentioned. So that, unfortunately, has been the only time I really talk about Kleber. I remember when Maxi was in Dallas. Nice player. I had no issues with Maxi Kleber when he was in Dallas. Frankly, when the Lakers made the trade for Luka, I was like, hey, Kleber, I didn't know much about his injury or anything like that. And we found out on day 1 when the Lakers held that press conference, Markieff was there, Kleber was there, Luka was there, that it was going to be a while for Kleber to come back, but maybe you'd get him in the playoffs. Clearly, Lakers got him for the playoffs, but it was an elimination game, and they didn't go past 5 games. I think he could be used sparingly. I think he could be used. I think he is, obviously a stretch center. So now if you're talking, you got Ayton, you got Kleber, who you're actually going to use and you feel like can give you solid minutes and be a little bit more of a stretch, center. And then you got Jackson Hayes. It's like, all right, it's not ideal. It's not perfect, but it's much better than what the Lakers had last summer, where last playoff run, where Hayes was your starting center. Kleber wasn't even available. You really didn't have any big men after that. You're looking at two-way guys is what you were looking at in regards to big men. And the Lakers obviously didn't use Trey Jamison III and didn't use Koloko for the postseason or that playoff roster. Okay, so that kind of takes us through a little bit of what are going to be the keys for what the Lakers need in the summer, what they're going to need, and what the assets that they have. They got Rui, they got Knecht, they got, obviously they got Gabe Vincent, they got Maxi, but they can still go out there and make a trade. I think that is the beauty of the position that the Lakers are in. They still got assets that they can go trade. So I put out, when I did the show on Thursday, Sammy was doing the show with me. I'm going to show you guys something that when we were doing the show on Thursday, and he had mentioned that there was some trade proposals that were out there. And one of the trade proposals that was out there was for the Lakers to go out there and get a wing. We've been listening to Andrew Wiggins' name, Andrew Wiggins. Will they actually trade him? Will Miami trade him? What will the Lakers have to put up in order to go make a trade? And one of the trade, rumors that were out there, I'm going to show it to everybody, and then everybody can actually see it. It was Lakers get Wiggins, Miami gets Rui, Knecht, and a first rounder. I asked, what do you guys think of the deal? No giving up too much. Yes, make it happen. 90% of Laker fans were not in favor of trading for Andrew Wiggins. By the way, I should have put this in the trade machine before because the trade dollars-wise did not make sense, but it was more the concept of it. I was actually a little surprised. People were kind of going out of their way, like, nah, don't make it. I said to Sammy when we were doing the show, I thought Lakers would be giving up too much for it. So how the Lakers are going to get that extra wing, I don't know. How the Lakers are going to figure that portion out, I'm not 100% sure. What the Lakers are going to target moving forward, I'm not 100% sure. But I think what I can tell you is more than anything else, fans were not very excited to go give up Rui, give up Maxi, give up Rui and give up Dalton Knecht in a first rounder for Andrew Wiggins. So Lakers got some work to do. Where they're going to figure it out, I'm not sure. I don't know how much they're going to target another center. I think that's probably gone. I think what the Lakers are going to do from this point is either try to make a move that is for the present and the future, and that's probably the only way they're giving up some of the assets that they have for a wing or whatever player that is. And I think they're going to try to work on that buyout market like we talked about a little bit with Bradley Beal, which I'll get into in just a second. All right, let's start looking at some of your comments. I think we got a lot of stuff going on here. A lot of stuff. I want to get to some of these comments here real quick. All right. First, let me wait on that one here. Oh, Dalton Knecht. Let me wait on Dalton Knecht because I know a lot of people want to hit on Knecht and people have an opinion on him. I don't think Dalton Knecht. I don't think his future is going to be in LA. That's just. I don't think the fans are going to allow his future to be in LA. To be honest with you, not even just fans. I think how last year started and how it ended, and the fact they tried to trade him. We'll do Dalton Knecht in a little bit. So save your DK stuff. I do want to do that. Rui and DK can go. Why a first rounder? I would say the only reason why a first rounder is just because Wiggins is the best player in that deal, and that would be the reason why. Massive overpay. Overpay. Okay, so a lot of people didn't want to do. Not that I was surprised. I was just surprised that 90% of people were like, no. Yeah, some of those, it's like 70-30 is overwhelming. 90-10, you don't get that too often when you do a poll. Building a team for Luka when he hasn't commented. He's not going anywhere. Or he hasn't committed, I think is what Brian was trying to say. He's not going anywhere. And the first he can, August 2nd is when he can actually commit to the Lakers. I'm afraid what Pelinka will trade to get a player like Wiggins. Well, I do feel like for the first time, and I could be wrong about this, but you guys can kind of give me your opinion on it. I feel like for the first time, there's less pressure to try to win right now. I really do believe that. And maybe that's just my gauge, and that's not an accurate gauge of how everybody feels. But doesn't it feel like for the first time, maybe because you got new ownership in, maybe because you got Luka and he's only 26 and you feel like, all right, well, we know where the keys are being handed to. They've actually already been handed to another player. I think it's because of those reasons. People are like, all right, well, if that deal doesn't make sense for now, then just don't do it. I don't think there's this, and again, fans would probably have a better pulse for this than I would because I'm just looking at it from my lens. I don't feel like I'm coming on here every day and saying, got to make a trade, got to make a trade, got to make a trade. No, just make the right trade. And if the right trade doesn't exist, hold on to your assets, hold on to your draft pick, hold on to Dalton Knecht, and just wait. Wait for when you feel like the right move's coming. Maybe part of that has to do with the fact that they did get a center and they were able to get that center without giving up assets. And now all of a sudden you feel like, all right, let's pump the brakes here for a quick second. When the right move is there, then the Lakers will make the right move. That could be wrong. Pelinka can go make a deal where everybody's like, what the hell was he doing? Or maybe he's still trying to accommodate to LeBron and felt that pressure, whatever the case is. But it has not felt like that's been the case so far this summer. Pelinka showed his hand with the Hornets trade. Dude's a moron. Johnny, I disagree. Maybe I'm a moron. If I disagree, then maybe I'm the moron. I'll tell you why I disagree. I get it. Lakers just traded for Luka. They had no center. He was in the process of making a deal. He didn't know that they were going to run this physical and they were going to get, gun shy because of the injury history, and they were worried about what a few years would look like with Mark Williams. And I don't know. For me, I think he had no choice. He really genuinely thought he was going to make that deal, and then they backed out. Everybody is going to ask what the Hornets were going to get. Yeah, the details of that deal were going to come out. And I remember doing a show right when they made that deal, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, awesome. Now they're getting a center. They're getting a rim protector. They're getting somebody that's going to roll to the basket. They're getting a guy that could be a really good fit, kind of similar to what Luka had when he was in Dallas. So when that deal went down, I think there were a lot of people that were excited about it until you started hearing that, all right, maybe the health of this guy is not where it needs to be. Wiggins is washed. Less pressure, but you at least want to show Luka that they are taking steps towards the ideal team. Yeah, I'll say this. I will say that there's a couple things that you could show. There's a couple things that you can show to Luka. You can show that you have patience and that it's going to take patience to make the right deal and put together the right roster. Or you can show Luka, hey, look what we did. Hey, we did something. We did something. And then find out later that that wasn't the right move for the Lakers. And Luka can be looking back and being like, what kind of a front office is this? They're making moves to accommodate me, but they're not making the right moves. It's not just about making a move. It's about making the right move. Any GM out there can go make moves. Any GM could go trade their assets and everything else. Doesn't mean it's the right move. There's going to be certain squads out there that will fleece another GM because maybe he feels the pressure. Maybe he's about to get fired. Whatever the case is, I don't think making a move is just making a move to make a move is the right way to do it. All right. Couple other topics that I want to start getting into. And I'm going to hit on Dalton Knecht next because I think a lot of people do want to talk about Dalton. So we might as well just do that. Seems like an appropriate thing to do. Before we do so, shout out to Brad Wallace and the team over at the Wallace firm. Shout out to everything that they're doing in the state of California, trying to help clients out there that have run into situations where it's a wrongful death case, some type of serious injury, whatever the case is. And I've said this before, I'll continue to say it. I hope nobody ever needs an injury attorney, but go drive around Southern California. Definitely people need injury attorneys and things happen in life. My hope is if you ever need an injury attorney, you take my word for it and you go to Brad Wallace and you go to the Wallace team. We've created a URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. It's also, you could click on the link in my description as well. If you're in the state of California and you do run into a predicament or a family member runs into a predicament, go to that website and just get a free consultation. Just have a chat with Brad Wallace and his team and let them see if they can help you. And I think more likely than not, they're going to be able to help you. You got so many different people shouting in this industry for your attention. Brad Wallace, much quieter, much more strategic. Somebody that I've known now for 5 years, was with me when I was over at 710 ESPN, and now is supporting the channel here exclusively on YouTube. So it's a great partnership to have. More importantly, I just want listeners to know that if you need an injury attorney, you need to consult with somebody, go to the best in the business, and that's Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Thank you again for supporting the channel, and I appreciate all the listeners as well who are supporting him. I mean, I see a lot of these comments on here as well. You guys are giving a lot of love to him as well. Okay. Should we talk a little Dalton Knecht, and then I'll go Bradley Beal? I know the Beal thing, a lot of interest on. I'm going to actually, to be honest with you, I'm going to have to be on Twitter because that can happen at any time where he's eventually bought out and becomes available, and then it's just trying to figure out what happens from there. For all I know, maybe he was already bought out. Let me see what we got here. Nope. Nope, not yet. Not yet. Okay. Let's do Dalton Knecht here real quick. So here's what's basically happened for Dalton Knecht in the past since February 1st. Let's call it February 1st. Okay. We know the type of start that he had with the Lakers last year. He was, guys, I'm telling you, as somebody who's creating content every single day, predominantly around Lakers, Dalton Knecht was selling. I put out anything on Dalton Knecht. People wanted to consume it. Steal of the draft. Look how good this guy is. He had games he's dropping 20 plus, 30 plus. Dalton Knecht was just carrying the Lakers' weight early in the season. All right. Things started changing. Teams made adjustments. Now, all of a sudden, he wasn't the exact same player. February 1st comes around. Luka Doncic gets traded to the Lakers. AD is out. Max Christie's out. Lakers obviously try to make a trade for Mark Williams. He comes back. Dalton Knecht needs a little bit of time to kind of process everything, and then really just wasn't the same player the rest of the way. And in some cases, some of that has to do with J.J. Redick. How much was he going to use him? And in other cases, it was the guy's a rookie. You know, teams are going to make their adjustments. They're going to understand, hey, Dalton Knecht's a nice offensive player, a little bit streaky, but they also know that go at Dalton Knecht, so he's got to play defense. If he's not playing D, maybe J.J. Redick's got to take him out of the game. That's what would happen to Dalton Knecht for the most part last season. So Lakers started their California Classic. And the reason why I'm bringing up Knecht now is because I think there are a lot of people, based off of just these two California Classic games, which, by the way, only have two teams from California. I mean, what are you going to call it Cali Classic for and only have two teams? How's Miami in it? Miami, San Antonio, Lakers, and the Warriors? Somebody want to explain this to me? So Cali Classic starts. Here's Dalton Knecht's stats in the first two games. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because he's going to be a trade chip. And I think a lot of people are paying attention to what Dalton Knecht's doing. And if he's not performing well, they're going to say, yeah, you got to get rid of this guy. Yeah, this guy's a bust. Okay, here's Dalton Knecht's numbers. Game 1, 3 of 13 from the field, 10 points, 4 rebounds in 30 minutes of play. Game 2, 9 points, 2 of 7 from the field, 3 rebounds in 22 minutes of play. Not good Cali numbers. And he had some good quotes out there. He's talking about how all he's done, the moment the Lakers were eliminated, all he's been doing, he's been in the gym. Starting at 6 a.m., just 2-3 workouts a day, whatever it takes. It sounds like Dalton Knecht is committed to his craft. I'm rooting for Dalton Knecht personally. I like his story. I want to see the man succeed. I don't think it's a lack of effort or any of that stuff. I think Dalton Knecht will hopefully eventually have value in the league. 24, 25 years old now. We know by the time he got into the NBA, he had already played 4 years in college. So with all that in mind, I'm rooting for Dalton Knecht. I just got a very difficult time thinking Dalton Knecht's going to have success with the Lakers. I do. I just think there's almost too much baggage for this guy that he can't do anything about. And he's already had in 1 year with the Los Angeles Lakers, let alone if he was playing for the Hornets or he was playing for the Kings or he was playing for another team, Phoenix, you pick whatever team. So many different things have happened in 1 year for Dalton Knecht as a Los Angeles Laker. I just don't think it's going to happen here. And I'm not telling you give up Dalton Knecht for nothing. Absolutely not. You hold on to Dalton Knecht for as long as you possibly want until you feel like there's a trade out there. But doesn't it feel more for the sake of Dalton Knecht that this man just needs to be on another team and just needs a fresh start and needs to be on a squad where, he could basically just be himself. What he's not going to be no defensive specialist or anything like that. But doesn't it feel that Dalton Knecht just needs to be on another team? Doesn't it feel like if he's going to have some success in this league, it's probably not going to be with the Lakers? Now, maybe he proves me wrong. Maybe he proves others wrong. I got to be honest with you. If you'd have told me I guess it's not too much of a shock because we're still early in the free agency. But if you'd have told me, hey, by July 7th, if you'd have told me 2 months ago, will Dalton Knecht still be a Laker? I'm like, no, I probably think that's one of the first players to go. And it's in some type of a package, predominantly because the Lakers were desperate to improve their roster. They needed a big. Well, now they were able to get a big without trading Dalton Knecht, without trading that first rounder. So maybe now it's more likely that he is with the Lakers. Or maybe they're waiting for that one deal that does come for a wing player, and they can match contracts, and then Knecht's part of that deal. But I got so many messages or just reading people, their opinion on Twitter or their opinion on YouTube or whatever the case. And people are like, yeah, Knecht ate it. He got to go. And they're saying that in Cali Classic games. And I think part of the reason why people are saying that is because second-year players that are in the summer league, or they're in the, summer league will obviously start in Vegas. I think for the Lakers, it's on Thursday against Cooper Flag and the Dallas Mavericks. Second-year players, they expect them to dominate. That's what people will expect, right? They're going to expect that a guy like Dalton Knecht, if he's going to play 30 minutes, that he's 9 of 13 from the field and has 21 points. They're not going to expect 10 points, 3 of 13 from the field. It's just, it's different. Let me give you guys an example. Cole Swider has had a really, really nice 2 Cali Classic games. He had a game where he had 24 points, 8 rebounds. I think he went 7 of 10 from the field in both games. That's what you're expecting from Dalton Knecht. Bronny, not bad in that last game. Had a highlight dunk, this, that. That's what you're expecting from your number 17 pick that was supposed to be the steal of the draft. So I do think there's a lot of people out there making a big deal about Dalton Knecht, and it's not from a positive perspective. I feel like at this point that if an opportunity is there, it's probably better off for Dalton Knecht to be on a different team and kind of hit that reset button. Okay, let's look at a couple of the comments here, and then we'll start hitting on some of the Bradley Beal stuff. All right, let's see what we got here. You guys act like Dalton is going to be an all-star or something. I don't think people say that. I got to be honest with you. I think it's more about they just want him to be a contributor, number one. And number two, I think if you're and his story is unique, it's different. Like I said, he started off really well. He's the talk of LA, and then it got quiet, and then he got traded, and then he had to come back. I think, his story is not your typical number 17 pick in the draft. And a lot of people were saying, I can't believe the Lakers got him. Who are all these idiot GMs that let him fall this far? It's not a typical story with Dalton Knecht. But I do understand what people are saying. Hey, in these Cali Classic games, yeah, he should be dominating these Cali Classic games, or he should be dominating in the Summer League. That portion, I understand. Dalton doesn't work in LA anymore. That's why he's playing like that. Rob is trash. Oh, Jesus. Oh, man. I love when we have we're so close to having a nice conversation. Everybody's going back and forth, and then everybody's like, all right, everybody's trash. Dalton Knecht is ready to run from LA. He's ready to get the hell out of there. Could be right. Could be right on that. Would be nice to keep Knecht. We need a shooting specialist. I find it difficult. I don't know if I see that happen anymore. I really don't. I think Dalton can play. He has a spot. He has a spot as a shooter. He just needs to move on. This is not a steady team to groom rookies. The environment's too desperate. That's a very good comment as well. All right, let me get a couple more of these, and then we'll start moving on. I do want to bring up Bradley Beal because there was some more news that came up this morning. Would be an insane decision to take on Beal. I'm gonna hold on to that one. We're gonna get back to it. We'll get back to that one. We'll get into that one. I think that one's going to be an interesting one to talk about. A couple supers I want to get into here. Alan, love the show. Here's the deal. While Rob wastes time, Clippers just got better, and I heard they are getting Beal. Lakers must get Wiggins. Okay, let's transition here. Let's get into, for those who don't know what happened this morning. By the way, this deal makes me think that they have a real shot at getting Bradley Beal, and I'm talking about the Clippers because of this deal that happened. So here's what happened this morning. We'll tie this into Bradley Beal and go from there. So about an hour, right before I was getting on the show, maybe 15 minutes before the show started, the Clippers, Jazz, and Heat have agreed to trade that sends Norman Powell to Miami, John Collins to the Clippers, and Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and a 2027 Clippers second-round pick to the Jazz, sources tell ESPN. I don't think the Jazz have any interest in Kevin Love. I don't think they have any interest in Kyle. Maybe Kyle Anderson, I'm not 100% sure. They wanted that second-round pick. They're just trying to keep assets, and that's what they're doing. What makes this deal very interesting, Norman Powell was a stud for the Clippers this past year. And then I'm going to tie this back to Bradley Beal in just a second. He was a stud with the Clippers last year. They just traded away, a shooting guard that was wildly valuable to them in order to get John Collins. Now, what did the Clippers do this offseason? They signed Brook Lopez to a 2-year deal. They have Ivica Zubac already. Now they got John Collins. So I think size is the theme that the Clippers kind of went with this year. And I think a lot of that has to do with they were just awful once Zubac came off the floor. The Norman Powell portion of it makes me think, did they just free up did they fill a void they had and fill up a roster spot or open up a roster spot because they feel like they got an insider here on potentially getting Bradley Beal? Yesterday, that came out. At least 5 teams are expected to show free agent interest: Bucks, Clippers, Heat, Lakers, and the Nuggets. And then I saw, Golden State Warriors on that list this morning. So there's going to be teams out there asking for his services. Potentially are the Clippers. Did they just make a roster spot for Bradley Beal? Was that kind of the goal of what they just did? Whether they did it or not, maybe they just wanted John Collins, or maybe there's some type of insider there where Bradley Beal is saying to himself, look, if you can free up a starting spot for me, I know I'm going to come in. I'm going to get big-time minutes. I'm going to be a part of your rotation. Does it become Bradley Beal, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, John Collins, Ivica Zubac, Brook Lopez off the bench, Dunn off the bench, Batum off the bench, some other players that they have? I got no idea, but those pieces sound like they make sense. Those pieces sound like maybe there is some opportunity there, and maybe the Clippers have a little bit of an inside track when it comes to this. The video that I put out yesterday in regards to Bradley Beal, the video that I put out yesterday, I thought was interesting. I'm going to read some people's reaction from that video, and then you guys can obviously give your thoughts on it as well. But it was interesting how many people out there were, in my opinion, did not want Bradley Beal on the Lakers. I felt like there were a lot of people out there that did not have interest in Beal. And I don't know if people understood kind of the thought process here. He's owed a lot of money. And I think people do understand this. Thank you, by the way, for the super, brother. I appreciate you throwing in that super. I got a couple other supers here I'm going to get into. Somebody gifted 10 memberships. I'm going to get into that in just a second as well. But let me share my screen here real quick. I think there are a lot of people that were looking at the Bradley Beal deal. And I know they understand. They definitely understand that. Let me find some of these comments here. They definitely understand that Lakers are going to have to pay that contract. But let me just read some of these comments. Lakers need defense, not another scorer. Let's get another one here. Luka, Beal, Reeves would be pretty nice 3-guard rotation. 2 of them could be on the court all times. It could actually work. I'm all for it. Damon Beal for minimum. The con on Beal is his contract. Take that concern off the table, and there's a no-brainer to go after him. You cannot disrespect the dead because they are okay. 100% look at the scoring on the bench. If you can get Beal, then you get him. All right. Miss you on 710. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate that. I'll say it. He's the exact player the Lakers need on this team. LA is close to Phoenix. Maybe that helps. I'm not mad at them for that. Lakers would be pure front runner of roster if things go sideways. What a drama for all the ages. There were some, I read more that were against bringing in Bradley Beal. I'll simplify this for everybody. You're not giving up anything for Bradley Beal. It's almost similar to DeAndre Ayton. The difference is you needed Ayton services just because you didn't have a center. There's no risk in Bradley Beal. There's none. And it's not like you're doing anything long-term, and it's not like it's locking up your contract in 2026, 2027, anything, or 2027, let's put it that way. You need talent. You don't get talent like that for $5 million or whatever the biannual would be. You don't get talent like that. And if the Lakers are able to convince Bradley Beal that this is the location, he's going to get paid anyways. Money's not going to be an issue. He's going to give some money back to the Phoenix Suns. I know that's going to happen. I was reading something, I think, from Eric Pincus. I forget. It was Eric Pincus, Evan Sidery. Some money's going to go back to the Phoenix Suns. That's why they would accept the buyout. But to go get a talent like that, and I know Bradley Beal is not 28. I know it's not the Beal that was in Washington. I know that it's been horrible structure in Phoenix. I know he's not the best defender. By the way, he's not a terrible defender, not the best defender. But to get talent like that for a few $1 million, it just doesn't happen. This is the only way that it happens. And I think if you're the Lakers right now, acquire talent. Figure out the rest later. Just get some talent. And whatever that looks like, and however, hypothetically, maybe now you're bringing Beal off the bench. Maybe you decided you're going to bring Austin Reeves off the bench, and you've told yourself that Austin Reeves is in. He likes the idea, and now he could kind of have a little bit more time to himself. He's got the ball in his hands when he comes in off the bench. Just go get talent. I mean, you know how many comments when I was reading that Bobby Marks was breaking things down, and people are like, damn, Lakers got no depth. They got no talent, as in depth off the bench. Well, you get a guy like Bradley Beal, all of a sudden you got talent. All of a sudden you have a little bit more depth. And again, you still got your assets. You could still use Rui Hachimura or keep him. You could still use Dalton Knecht in a first rounder and Gabe Vincent or Maxi Kleber. These are expiring contracts. Get the talent. I mean, I think there's probably no team in the NBA. I mean, there's some teams that are just not trying to win and it doesn't make sense. But if you told me that Bradley Beal, who is a sharpshooter, who is a terrific shooter, has Luka or LeBron to find him the rock, and actually has natural point guards that understand the game and know when to pass and the timing and all that other stuff. That wasn't Devin Booker. That wasn't Kevin Durant. I know it was a train wreck in Phoenix, but it's part of it why it was a train wreck is because it was one of the worst contracts in the NBA. The other part of why it was a train wreck was because the Phoenix Suns still owe him 120 plus, that he had a no trade clause and that nobody can actually move him. There are a lot of reasons why that contract was a train wreck. I'll tell you why why that contract would not be a train wreck with the Lakers is because you're only paying him. You're paying him peanuts in the grand scheme of things in the NBA. Ayton's not, nobody cares about Ayton because you're paying him peanuts. You want it to work. You're hoping it works. For DeAndre Ayton, it's very important that it works. So then he has obviously a future under his belt the rest of the way, but you're not giving up anything. So I think, but there's going to be competition. Like I think the Clippers angle of this, they're making a pitch to him and they may be telling him, listen, you're the missing piece. You come to the Los Angeles Clippers. We just got John Collins. We got all this other talent that's on here. We got good coaching. We got this, we got that. If you come here, now we're in the conversation with Denver and Houston and OKC. We're top 4 in the Western Conference if you come here. They can make that case, and I don't think they'd be wrong. So there's definitely going to be competition for Bradley Beal. There really is no risk for the Lakers. If the Lakers basically spend this offseason grabbing players off the buyout market with absolutely no risk and no long-term contracts and still have all their assets, that's a good offseason. And that doesn't mean that they won't go make a deal by the time summer's up or before August 2nd rolls around when Luka's looking at what he's going to do with an extension, or before they get to the NBA trade deadline. They might walk into the season with this roster and then say to themselves, cool, now we got all these pieces to work with. And frankly, for Rob Pelinka, all of his deals, as far as trades go, have come before the trade deadline. That's where the deals have come. Whether they traded for D'Angelo Russell, or they traded for Anthony Davis, or they traded, think of just some of these deals. Luke, obviously, they got there. Dorian Finney-Smith was before the trade deadline. That's Vando was before. That's where most of those deals came from. They came at the trade deadline. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. But hopefully that gives you guys just kind of a good perspective, at least from my vision of where the Lakers would be in regards to that. People act like Beal is not good. You know what I think is so important to point out, Victor, I appreciate the comment. What I think is so important to point out, a lot of times your success is also based on your predicament and your situation. Honestly, that's probably why I'm talking about Dalton Knecht. I don't think Knecht's a bad player. I think Knecht probably just at this point is better off somewhere else, and let him kind of figure out what his career is, not in a Laker jersey somewhere else. Bradley Beal is a really good player, but you had such a horrible construction of a team. You handicapped yourself because of those contracts. You had zero depth. You had players that didn't fit. I still believe 3 stars work, but they have to all fit perfectly. And clearly in Phoenix, those 3 players didn't fit perfectly. I mean, just simply put. If I had to guess, Lakers are done making moves. If Beal changes his mindset to be 3 and D, it will definitely work. Beal not washed. Beal was only half decent at the Wizards because he's the only player there. Everything went through him. He took all the shots with no pressure, any expectations being a Wizard. I don't disagree there at all. But that doesn't mean Beal can't play ball with Luka and LeBron and a real center and some other role players. And Beal technically becomes a role player for the Lakers. Would he accept that role? Is that what he wants? I think actually anywhere he goes now, he's going to have to accept that. That's kind of what he is. Just don't sign Beal to a long-term. There is no long-term. Literally, there is no long-term. I mean, imagine this. Can I just play this out for everybody real quick? Imagine that they sign Bradley Beal. I don't know if it's going to happen. I mean, if you told me what my gut says he ends up somewhere else. That's what my gut says. We'll see what eventually happens. But imagine if they signed Bradley Beal and you walk into this season with adding Beal, adding Ayton, and total contracts you got for Beal and Ayton are probably less than $15 million. Talking about per year. You add those 2 players. And you still got Rui, and you still got Knecht, and you still got your first rounder, and you still got Gabe Vincent. At least then you could walk into the season like, guys, we still got some assets, and we added a true center, 26-year-old true center, who's probably, of all the centers that were available in the market, would you rather have Brook Lopez or DeAndre Ayton? I'd rather take Ayton. Would you rather have Cliff Capella or DeAndre Ayton? I'd rather take DeAndre Ayton. Would you rather go down the list of some of these, would you rather pay Miles Turner $125 or whatever he got? Okay, I can make a case why Miles Turner would be better, but you're also paying him for 4 or 5 years. I can't remember what he signed for. And so I think there's a case to be made from that perspective. And then you still got all your assets that you got to work with. All right, I got to give a shout out here to a very, very, very kind listener here. This happened a little bit earlier in the show, and I was like, all right, let me wait on this. Shout out to Richard here. Guys, if you're not a member, please consider being a member. It's $3 a month. It's a great way to support the channel. That's my only pitch. My pitch is it's $3 a month, and it's a great way to support the channel. Couple hundred right now that are supporting the channel this way. So thank you very much for doing so. Richard, very, very nice of you to gift out 10 memberships. Thank you very much for doing so. I'm going to put a link here. If anybody wants to become a member, you could click on that link and there it is. You're a member. But Richard, thank you very much for doing so. Very, 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 very kind of you to do so. Okay. I'm going to keep that there for a quick second. I got a couple other comments that I'm going to get into here real quick. And then we'll keep things moving. Harden, Beal, Leonard, Collins, Zubats is nice. Stop playing. That's very nice. And by the way, they got guys coming off the bench as well. They definitely got players coming off the bench as well. We give credit where credit's due. Hey, if the Clippers went out there, and got Bradley Beal, they were able to do that. Yeah, that's impressive. Beal it's a great comment. Beal's only a nightmare when he makes $50 million and no trade clause. This is the situation. This isn't the situation with the Lakers. It's no brainer, guys. Trust me when I tell you this. And it's almost similar with DeAndre Ayton. Ayton was making, I think, $35 for a year. That's a huge cap hit. $35 a year for DeAndre Ayton? No, that's not happening anymore. What if I told you can get him for $8 million a year for 2 years? Yeah, that's okay. Now you're completely fine with that. Completely fine with that. Richard, thank you again, brother. I appreciate the member. I really do appreciate that. Let's get another one here. HH, thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for doing so. Appreciate the super there, buddy. Thank you for the 10 spot. Let's get another one in here. Would be an insane decision to take on Beal for free. He's washed. Lakers need defensive dogs around Luka, not a freeloader who's financially set for life. And comp to GM Rob Lowe needs to be fired. HT, I think you got to go get talent. And you got to go get talent. I don't think there's anything left in the market. If you told me, hey, Lakers got $30 million to play with, and they could get Bradley Beal or they could get this two-way defender, this 3-and-D player, then I would agree with you. And I'd say go use that $30 million to go get a 3-and-D guy. But what if I told you they could go get a really, really talented player in the NBA for $5 million and not give up any assets? It's just not apples to apples. You're not going to go find anybody in the market right now that's going to be as talented as Bradley Beal for $5 million. You're just not. Bring on the talent. And then, by the way, if you got Bradley Beal, then maybe you're deciding, now I'm going to go use those assets to go get that 3-and-D player that you're talking about or that defender that you're talking about. So I think that also is a good way to kind of tie it in. A couple more supers in here. Clippers could make space for CP3 as well. Thank you for the super, brother. Yeah, when I read some reports out there, and it looked like yesterday I read a report that this is it for CP3. This will be his final season, but we also had read reports that he wants to still be starting. What is he talking about? I mean, this is, God bless Chris Paul. And I've said this before. I don't need to see him on the Lakers. I'm good. But what is he talking about? Like, that guy, there were times he was a really, really good player. There's other times he just thought he was so much better than he actually was. And CP3 was a baller for a long time. But when I saw that of he wants to play somewhere where he can still be a starter, what are we doing here? Is this about winning? Is it just accommodating you? I hate it when I read that. Zach, thank you for the super. Unless AR is coming off the bench, don't get Beal. Either one of them will be coming off the bench. I think that's safe to say. That's if they kept Rui, and LeBron's probably the 3, and they're going 8 in at the 5. So one of those two would come off the bench. Hey, now all of a sudden you got some depth off your bench because you certainly don't have it right now. Thank you for all the supers, everybody. Did I get all the supers? I got them all. Yeah, so either way for me, like I mentioned, I think from that perspective, that definitely has a lot to do with it. All right, Lexus Santa Monica. 2025 all-electric Lexus RZ. Go to LexusSantaMonica.com. You're in the market for a car. You're not really sure what to do, where the hell to start. Why Lexus? I'll tell you why Lexus. And I'll tell you why there's a partnership with me and Lexus. Very simple. I got my car from Lexus Santa Monica. I've been driving Lexus for about 15 years right now. When you go to make any purchase you make like this, you try to be smart. If you're going to go get a car, I hope that you're looking at it as a long-term investment. I hope you're looking at it as, all right, I got to be smart here. Payments are high. Insurance is high. I got to just be very, very smart with whatever I do. Here's why Lexus. Quality cars. Reliable cars. I got 180,000 miles on my car, and I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon. That's how I drive my cars. Want luxury? You can't get any more luxurious than Lexus. Why Lexus Santa Monica? I can introduce you to the owner. Or, by the way, you want to send him an email, you could send him an email directly. Matthew Unger at lacarguy.com. Part owner / general manager, has been at that dealership for years. I've known Matt Unger for over 10 years. He'll help you get into the car that you're looking for. By the way, kind of options here. You're not happy with the lease that you're in. You want a new car, and you're asking yourself, all right, where do I start? Where do I go? You're interested maybe in a used car across the street. They got the pre-owned lot. Matt Unger can help you. And I can help make an introduction as well. If you're in the market for a car, you got to consider Lexus, and you should go to LexusSantaMonica.com. If you're in the market for a car and you don't want Lexus, still reach out to Matt Unger and let him kind of navigate you of where to go, since he knows everybody in the industry. So shout out to Matt Unger, shout out to Lexus Santa Monica, and I appreciate you guys hanging out as we give some love to our partners here. Okay, what is everybody saying? What do we got here from everybody? Arnold. As you can see, Rob is getting played by other teams. John Collins rumors were Dalton, number 1, and Rui. They took Kevin Love in a second. I'll pass. Dallas didn't help us with a Luka trade. Arnold, thank you for the super brother. Very nice of you to throw a 10 spot in there. I appreciate that very much. Yeah. What did Utah get back? Yeah, honestly, Utah didn't get much back. And maybe this is going to be Utah expiring contracts. We'll get that second rounder. Doesn't sound like a lot. Definitely doesn't sound like a lot. Is this the Danny Ainge doesn't want to do a deal with the Lakers? Is this the Danny Ainge, we'll do a deal with the Clippers? Yeah, what's wrong with doing a deal with the Clippers? I don't know. I don't have that answer for you. It does seem like the Lakers, Trevor Lane mentioned this to me when he was on a couple weeks ago or so about the Laker tax. And I'm like, yeah, Trev, I get it. I understand it. But at the end of the day, a team is typically going to do a deal that makes more sense for them. Maybe that's not the case for the Utah Jazz. I mean, how long have we been talking about Walker Kessler and some of these other players? I mean, we all have a migraine from that. Arnold, thank you for the super brother. Very, very nice. You throw a 10 spot in there. Thank you to everybody that threw some supers in there. Freeing up minutes for young guys. They're definitely doing that. I don't know what their direction is at all. I don't know what the Utah Jazz are doing. Laker draft picks are always going to be low. Sliwa, why would Beal even want to come to the Lakers? He's got better options to win and thrive. Dave, I'm not arguing that. I think Ayton knew there was a specific spot for him with the Lakers. They're desperate, and I think he knew he was going to get exposure, and Luka's going to set him up. Beal might not look at the Lakers situation. He could look at it completely different. I'm going to look at one other thing here real quick. And I just want to see if anything else has kind of gone down. I don't think it has. Yesterday, the chat was we're already seeing Utah, Kevin Love expected to agree to a buyout, will enter free agency. So that was expected. They're not going to keep those guys. At least they're not going to keep Kevin Love. Yesterday, the chatter was that Beal was going to get bought out within 28 to 48 hours. That was yesterday. So we're nearing in on 24 hours, 24 to 48 hours. We're nearing in on 24 hours. And we'll see in the next day or two what Bradley Beal, when he gets bought out and what he decides to do from there. John Collins headed to LA. Okay, going to the Clippers. Okay, that gives you a quick idea in regards to that. All right, let me get a couple more in here, and then I'm going to do a quick recap, weekend recap, then I'm going to call it a day. Love on the Lakers as a vet would be nice. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's coming to the Lakers, nor, to be honest with you, I don't think I'll be losing sleep if he doesn't come to the Lakers. I think I'll be fine on that front. Nothing he's done wrong. I just kind of think, how old is Kevin Love at this point? I'd rather go get talented players, go try to use that roster spot for somebody that might actually, help the team. But then again, I was making a case there for Al Horford. There was a point where I was making a case for Al Horford. So I kind of understand where people are coming from in that. Just have a good locker room guy and everything else. All right, let's take a look at a couple more here. Let's do this here real quick. I got the weekend recap that I want to get into real quick. Not that much, to be honest with you, from a weekend recap perspective, but I got a couple of things that I can hit on and go from there. Weekend recap, as always, as you guys know, is presented by the Wallace firm. Go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa or click on the link in my description, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, and get a free consultation from Brad Wallace and the Wallace team. Okay, real quick here. Anybody watch a little soccer last night? Little Gold Cup action. USA Mexico. USA scores in the first 5 minutes, and then you could basically turn off the game because they couldn't do anything after that. Mexico wins 2-1. Fun game to watch. I like those games. I'm a fan of those. This time of the year, you got a lot of these. What is it? They got the in Europe right now. Who did I watch? I think it was PSG, and who were they playing? I forgot who they were playing. I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyways, there's some good international games right now, European matches that are going on. So those are always fun to watch. So USA loses 2-1 against Mexico in the Gold Cup. one just quick thing from a baseball perspective, and I don't think right now, what are you in kind of the absolute dog days of summer when it comes to baseball? Only real difference here, Dodgers, Padres, Giants. Basically, Padres and the Giants now fighting for a wild card. Dodgers have really run away with the division. I know they lost a few games in a row. I don't think that matters. Dodgers 56-35, Padres 48-41, San Francisco Giants 49-42. Padres get Yu Darvish back tonight. He has not pitched yet so far this year, so it'll be good for him to make his way back. Okay, let's read last couple of these comments, and then we'll call it a day. Let you guys go enjoy the rest of your day. Shout out here real quick. Shout out to another new member. Jerry, thank you for joining the crew, buddy. Thank you. Thank you for being an all-star member. Really appreciate, or I'm sorry, an MVP member. I appreciate you joining the membership and being a part of it. So thank you for your support, brother. Okay, a couple comments here. Let's see what we got here. Kevin Love, any good still? I don't think so. Mexico dominated. That's right. Bayern Munich. That's who it was. And then it was Real Madrid versus Borussia. Look, we got some soccer people on here. I'm not the soccer guy, by the way. I enjoy watching it, but I'm not the guy to break it down. Yeah, so now people are asking about Kevin Love and a buyout. Okay, I think that's all we got for today. I think we hit on everything. I think we definitely got through some topics that I've been dying to get through the weekend. And then if anything goes down today, if great, we'll come back on. If not, then we'll wait till tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you again to the new members. Shout out to Richard again for doing his thing here and gifting out 10 memberships. Thank you to HH for the supers. Thank you all the supers. I appreciate you guys supporting the show. Very, very nice of you guys to do so. Back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. Thank you to Lexus Santa Monica. Thank you to the Wallace firm. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Thank you, everybody.